Hello? All right, guys, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please go ahead and put a plus sign in the chat box area. So, Manjit, the reason I asked you to turn off the microphone, we do have, unfortunately, an issue when we have more than two speakers in the room. There is echo. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is such a fabulous topic, successful transition to a product owner role. Actually, earlier this morning, I was talking to a lady who does a lot of training, product owner in agile space, and she was saying that there is a shortage of product owners. So in one of the amazing future opportunities for business analysts is to transfer to the product owner role. So a lot of ours are coming from the product, from the business analysis. We have a lot of project managers, and unfortunately, as some of you know, the project management as the career is kind of starting to get replaced with the product owner role, right? So this is such a timely webinar. So Manjit, I really appreciate your time tonight to talk about transitioning to the product owner role. I'm sure everybody can benefit from that. And I just want to take a quick minute to introduce Manjit. And Manjit, if I miss anything, please go ahead and add to your introduction. So Manjit is a founder of Agilious LLC. It's a boutique agile consultancy providing agile coaching, training, as well as product development. Manjit also has published his book recently. Congratulations! This is a huge milestone. Actually, we wouldn't mind, if you want to share the name of the book with us and see, just let us know where we can purchase it. Maybe it's on Amazon or what's the bookstore. We would definitely like to take a look at that. So welcome, Manjit. Again, thank you so much for your time tonight, and I know it will be a valuable presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So I will be switching to my PowerPoint. So hopefully everything else should work in the background. If not, just type in the chat box, since that is open on the side, and I suggest if you type there something there. So thank you for this opportunity, and excited to talk about this. You're absolutely right. There is a severe need for qualified, competent product owners. There are a lot of people are, I guess, more attracted towards the Scrum Master role because it seems there is more demand for that. But there is a huge demand for product owners. Hard to find both qualified and competent product owners and Scrum Masters. So. Brief introduction. My journey with Agile began in 2000 with XP, Extreme Programming. I was at IBM, and that's when I got introduced to it. And then in 2005, I was introduced to Scrum. So I've been a long-time practitioner and transitioned from being a Scrum Master for about 6-7 years to started to coach the teams I was working with, and then in 2013 decided to start my own consulting firm and focus and provide agile consulting services. As was just mentioned, I did publish a book recently. It was launched in March. It's called the Lean Playbook. It's a book designed for organizations and individuals to select the right lean methods and agile methods that they can apply in their organization to improve their agility. You can buy it on Amazon. If you search for the Lean Playbook, there are 5 authors. I'm one of the
If Manjit, if you can hear me, please sound just
Can you hear me now? Okay, so I don't know what happened. It turned off by itself, so I don't know where I lost you. But the last thing I mentioned was that the book is called the Lean Playbook, and it can be purchased through Amazon.com. So just like any other item, just search for the Lean Playbook, and I'm one of the co-authors. And once you order it, it will be shipped and arrive at your home within 2 to 3 business days. My question was, if people could type a response to this question, how many years of Agile experience you have? If you can put in a number in the chat box, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth. How many years of experience you have with Agile? Okay, Gabrielle, 3. Anybody else? Okay. Wonderful. So before we begin, the Scrum, which is one of the most common and most popular and widely used Agile frameworks, has 3 roles: the Scrum Master, the development team, and the product owner. So we're going to focus. So the product owner, to summarize the responsibilities of a product owner, they are the primary and the only role that is responsible for owning the product vision. Every product should have a clear product vision which defines why this product is being built, who it is being built for, what features it will have. It's a product owner. So the video and the audio keep switching off. I'm not sure why. Let me switch my network here for a second. Okay. Hopefully this should be better. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to only keep microphone on as been suggested by Ala, and then switch off the video. Hopefully that shouldn't cause any problems. So to just summarize, or I guess start from the beginning here, the product owner, responsible for owning the product vision, decides the priority of the content of the product, which means the features, prioritize it so that the return on investment is achieved on that product. They decide what goes in a release, when a release is made. They are making the trade-off decisions to ensure the product is successful. And the product owner is responsible for accepting or rejecting the work of the development team. They are the ones who provide them feedback and also gather feedback from stakeholders and users. So this is the primary responsibility of the product owner role. An effective product owner has to demonstrate a visionary leadership. They have to be able to guide the team and provide them with the leadership and the motivation for the product to be successful. They are a team player, and they not only are a team player themselves, but they have to demand that the members of the team act and work as a single team. They need good communication and negotiation skills. Why? Because during the entire time that they're playing this role of a product owner, they are constantly communicating the product's vision and articulating why this product is being built, who it is being built for, and what is being built. They also have good negotiation skills because it requires negotiations not only with the stakeholders, but also with the team members. Since the product owner is responsible for making the trade-offs, they have to negotiate what will be built when. Often, product owners are not empowered by the organization to make the decisions, and that becomes a huge bottleneck for the product owner to play an effective role and for the team to produce a successful product. So a product owner has to be empowered by the organization to make the decisions. They have to be committed to play that role. Another common pattern that I see in a lot of organizations is where the product owner has their regular job responsibilities, and then in addition to that has been told to also play the role of the product owner, and they struggle. The product owner has to be available to the development team so that when they have questions or need clarifications, they can answer the questions and provide that leadership. And they have to be qualified. What does that mean? That means that they need to have domain knowledge. They need to be close to the users to understand what their problem is, what the challenges they face, so that the product can solve those problems and provide value to the users. Okay. Does anybody know how much time should a product owner spend with the development team? If you could type in your answer in the chat box, what percentage of the time should a product owner spend? Okay, 20%. Anybody else? Take a guess. Nope, it's definitely not 0. Okay, 75% by Mansa. They should spend at least 50% of their time with the development team. So they, at a minimum, should be spending half the time facing inwards, working with the development team, and half the time interacting with the users and the customers and the stakeholders to get a better sense of what it is that they need, what their expectations are, and to get feedback from them. So it's at a good balance, 50-50. Okay. Now, if you are transitioning into the product owner role, and if you are coming from a business analyst or a project manager role, it can be extremely challenging. Why is it extremely challenging? Because of two reasons. So the first is not having a good grasp of what it means, what Agile is, and what it means to be Agile. When I interact with the project managers in a lot of trainings that I do, they are just beginning this journey and they're starting to work with Agile teams or want to play the role of a product owner. They are often, I find them mapping Scrum and the Scrum framework to traditional project management. And if you do that, you will struggle because there is no one-to-one map. In fact, you shouldn't even attempt to do a mapping between what happens in traditional project management versus what happens in the Scrum framework. So this mindset of what it means to be Agile, what are the 4 values, the 12 principles, is extremely important. Not having a good grounding in these makes it very hard to be comfortable with what Agile proposes and how Agile frameworks and methods work. And one of the biggest challenges that project managers or business analysts coming from traditional waterfall projects struggle with is dealing with uncertainty. The entire Agile frameworks and methods are designed to help you manage uncertainty and the rapid pace of change. So the more comfortable you are with uncertainty, the much more easier it becomes to adopt Agile and to practice Agile. So this mindset is extremely important. Learning the mechanics of any Agile framework is easy. What's difficult is learning what it means to be Agile and being comfortable with that rapid pace of uncertainty and change. Okay, and with that, adopting this concept and value of being transparent about everything that's happening in the project. You know, the successes, the failures, the challenges, everything has to be communicated openly and transparently. So when you look at this on this graphic, often there is a lot of emphasis on tools and processes. Those are visible, they're tangible, and often that becomes a measure of how well a team or an organization is doing in terms of being Agile. Whereas what really demonstrates your thinking and ability to be Agile is the mindset. And that represents an individual who's constantly learning and an organization that is constantly learning from its failures and striving to make continuous improvements in how they do work and how they deliver value to their customers. So how do you make this transition? How do you make this transition? And what I'm going to share with you is from another fellow coach who came up with this personal agility canvas. Anybody seen this before? You can respond in the chat box. Anybody seen this before, personal agility canvas? Okay. So what this is basically it's a tool by which you can map your journey and transition from whatever role you are in to the role of a product owner and improving your own personal agility. So this can actually even apply when it comes to transitioning into a Scrum Master role, for example. So this canvas is based on the business model canvas, which has been around for several years now. And there are 9 kind of, specific quadrants. They're not really quadrants, but there are 9 components of this personal agility canvas. And I'm going to walk through all 9 of these in the order in which they're numbered. And the reason they're numbered that way is because if and when you fill this out and you start using a personal canvas, you start with the component 1. Yes, I can share the PDF or Word template of this after the webinar, no problem. Okay, so the first one is the value proposition. So this value proposition talks about how do you and your company deliver value, and how using an agile approach or an agile method serve your organization and your teams. So this first step is to identify explicitly and write why it is that you're transitioning to agile, or why it is that you want to be more agile. Having a clear written reason for why is always helpful. There is a great book out there by Simon Sinek. I'm going to type it here. It's called Start with Why. Highly recommend the book. Knowing the reason why you're doing something provides a purpose and a meaning to what you're doing. The same thing applies here. Why is it that you want to improve your personal agility? Why it is that you want to transition into a product owner or a Scrum Master role? The second component here, this canvas, is goals. What explicit goals can you identify? And this is important because knowing this helps you understand when you have achieved those goals. The next one here is component number 3, strengths. What experiences, skills, and behaviors are you able to use as you transition into Agile? So like I had mentioned, being an effective product owner means you're a leader, you are a team player, you're a good communicator, you're a good negotiator. Any of those skills that you have or experiences from your personal or professional life that you can leverage, explicitly write it down here so that you know what those strengths are and how these strengths relate to being an effective product owner. So the skills that may be missing are the ones that you then work on as part of this journey towards product ownership. The next component talks about interaction with others. As you start to begin this transition and as you're on this journey towards becoming an effective product owner, having self-awareness about how you interact and work with team members, customers, and your other colleagues in your work, are they aligned with the Agile principles? So I highly recommend looking at the 12 Agile principles in the Agile Manifesto. So you can see that in the agilemanifesto.org. Often I find that people who work on Agile teams in whatever capacity, whether they're team members, Scrum Master, or a product owner, are not familiar with the Agile principles, the 12 Agile principles from the Agile Manifesto. Highly recommend knowing that, and that's what this refers to. What are the gaps between what the 12 principles are and how you work and interact with your team, colleagues, and customers? Number 5 talks about the environment. Is the physical environment in which your team works, is it conducive to the Agile practices? Is it conducive? Are they enablers in the Agile principles and the values? Being aware of that is important because you may have the authority and the influence to actually make changes in the physical environment to make Agile a reality within your organization and teams. Number 6 talks about, are there certain aspects of your thinking and your personality that inhibit you from becoming an effective product owner or an agile practitioner. Okay, so are you constantly questioning, how a certain practice or a framework is designed? And this may seem like an odd thing, or if you're thinking this is fuzzy, please feel free to, post a question in the chat box. But I often find individuals stepping into the role of a Scrum Master or a product owner, but then they keep questioning. So why do we need to do a sprint retrospective after every sprint? Why can't the daily Scrum be more than 15 minutes? Why do I have to be at the sprint planning meeting? Why can't you do it by yourself? So these kind of questions, when they come up, are a sign of saying, I'm going to follow this, but then you are also not fully embracing it, but keep questioning it. And that is defeating. So being mindful of these mental models that come into play while you're trying to make the transition is extremely important. Number 7 talks about explicitly identifying what changes you want to see. Which means personally, if you notice that, I need to take a step back, I need to become a better listener, or whether I need to take a step back and not be so direct. I need to watch not being so authoritative. I need to be careful about not being so judgmental about my team members and doubting their decisions. So these behaviors and these actions, the more self-aware you become, those are the ones that you identify as things that you want to work on and change. So I recently was working with a product owner, and I told her, Pamela, I would ask you that if there is a question that gets asked, try to make it a point to be the last person to answer the question rather than the first person. Because she had this habit of being the first person who would jump in and answer every question, and it would bias her team members. And often it would, in fact, even prevent them from even speaking up, because they now were thinking, well, what's the point? Pamela knows all the answers, so why should we even bother sharing our thoughts? So those are examples of how identifying certain personal behavior and other patterns helps you to be more self-aware of stopping those behaviors from happening. Number 8 talks about fears and concerns you may have as you embark on this journey. Okay, it's not easy. It does generate some self-doubt. It does generate anxiety, and so rather than run away from those, it's better to identify those and to actually write them down. So whether it is, I don't know how the team would feel if I say I don't know the answer to that question, or I don't know how the team will feel if I don't speak as much, or if I'm not giving them directions with in terms of what they should. Or I'm worried about whether I'll be successful or not in this new role. So being explicit about these fears and concerns is always better, because then you're facing them head on, and only when you face them head on can you overcome these fears. Otherwise, they will linger in the back of your mind or in your subconscious, and it actually prevents you from becoming a better product owner or an agile practitioner. Number 9, the last but not the least here, talks about actions needed. So this particular component is designed to explicitly identify what actions you would take. Explicit, tangible steps you're going to take to help you move towards becoming more agile. And it could be that, I'm going to go take a training class, or I'm going to go attend a meetup, or attend a conference, or I'm going to find somebody who can be a good mentor for me, or I'll find somebody who's a experienced product owner, and I would shadow them for the next 2 weeks. So it could be any concrete, actions you would take to start your journey towards becoming more agile. So this 9 components make up this personal agility canvas. And you can fill this out before you start your journey and then constantly review it. Maybe do it once a month, review it, see what has changed. Desired changes may have evolved. Your fears may have evolved. You may have got rid of certain concerns. Actions needed may be different 3 months from now than when you are at the first step of your journey. So the purpose is to do a self-reflection and a self-evaluation of your journey as you are working towards improving your personal agility to become a more effective agile practitioner and a product owner. So let me pause here and see if there are any questions, because I covered a lot of material in the last 22 minutes. Any questions? So there is no fine line. It's a product owner who is deciding what will be built in what order. What I mean by that is they set a goal for every sprint. So based on the goal, the team then works with the product owner to identify the items from the product backlog that will make the sprint goal possible. So there is a difference there, which often is not explained very explicitly or very well. So often, a lot of people who are new to Agile and Scrum may think that the development team is deciding what will be built and when. That's not the case. It's a product owner who decides what will be built in what order. The team is the one that is responsible for coming up with the best technical solution and using the best engineering practices to produce a high quality product. So the team will provide the product owner an estimate of, okay, so you want us to build a search functionality or a feature. Well, that will take us, X number of time. And the product owner decides whether they want to build the whole thing, they want to build small parts of it, but it's the product owner's decision. Hope that provided the answer to your question. Other questions from anybody else? Yes, this is where the negotiation takes place. Yes, I do training, offer both certified Scrum Master, certified Scrum Product Owner. I'm just about to offer the advanced Scrum Master class and an advanced certified Product Owner class. So all of those are available and offer them publicly, and then also have several times companies request a private training if they have enough people, which is exclusively done for the employees of the company. You can learn more about the training at this URL. Mansa asked, how does the product owner manage between business and development? Is that what you're saying? Let me see, it's getting cut off here. 1 second, let me increase the size of the window. How does the product owner manage between business and development? Because development requires more time frame in resolving issues for large or multiple projects. So it's not the product owner's job to resolve those technical issues, right? It's the development team's job. So if the team is working on a sprint number N and they have an issue while they're in the sprint, it's the development team's job to resolve that issue. If the issue remains unresolved, then they inform the product owner at the end of the sprint, and the product owner then will make a decision as to if the issue relates to a piece of feature or functionality that is of high priority and high value. The product owner would tell the team to, will say in the next sprint, we're going to continue to work on that issue. So they're not really actually spending time in debugging the issue or resolving it themselves. So the 50% involvement is in the product backlog refinement. So while a sprint is underway, the product owner and the development team comes together to prepare items for the upcoming future sprints, no more than 2 sprints in the future. So that product backlog refinement is held several times during the current sprint, and the Scrum Master, the development team member, the product owner all attend those meetings, the product backlog refinement meetings, and the product owner is expected to come prepared with what needs to be built, for who it is being built, why we are building this, and answer questions so that the development team has good understanding and clarity on what is expected out of that functionality. So how does the Scrum Master fit in? How does the Scrum Master fit in? So the Scrum Master is there to help the team, the development team, and the product owner learn how to apply Scrum in a healthy manner. It's a success of a Scrum Master lies when the development team and the product owner take ownership of the Scrum framework, which means they practice it by themselves without anybody forcing them, nudging them, standing over their shoulder, watching them. So that's their job. That's the primary job of the Scrum Master, is to help the team build the product as quickly as possible, which is of high quality, using a healthy practice of Scrum. They are not playing the role of a liaison between the product owner and the dev team. They're not a gatekeeper. They're not a liaison. They're not a intermediary. They're just there to help make sure the development team and the product owner is working together well and are able to come to a common understanding, so they facilitate those conversations if they get stuck. Their job is to produce, exactly, their job is to make sure the team becomes a self-managing, self-organizing, high-performance team. And here, when I say team, it means both the development team and the product owner. Difference between product owner and product manager. So there is clearly a difference. Let me see if I can pull up a slide. Give me 1 second in which I actually talk about this. One second, please. I had a good slide that summarized difference between product owner and product manager. Maybe it's not in this one. Just bear with me. It will be easier once I pull it up, so you'll be able to see it more clearly and explicitly. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to let you read this for a second, and then I'm happy to provide more clarification. Looks like you cannot see the screen. 1 second, please. Let me fix that. My apologies. Actually, I'm going to make it easier. Just how about now? So any more follow-up questions? Anything that I can clarify or elaborate in terms of the difference between product manager and product owner? Okay. Not recommended. You do want to have you don't want the same individual to play both the role about the product owner and the product manager. The reason being that a product owner spends at least 50% of the time facing inwards, working with the development team and focused on building the right product. Whereas a product manager is looking at a lot of other things besides, so they do provide input to the product owner, but they are also thinking about things like go-to-market strategy, customer acquisition, retention, sales, overall marketing strategy. So that's the reason why you don't want the same individual to play both these roles. The product manager role requires almost 80% of the time to be spent external facing, whereas a product owner requires 50% of the time to be spent internal facing. Does that help answer the question in terms of the difference to and why you should have the same person play both the roles? This is where the development team will help the product owner, tell them, yeah, so you want to build feature B, but feature B actually needs that feature A functionality needs to be built first. So there is a technical and a functional dependency. So the product owner does not need to have that technical knowledge. The development team will inform the product owner. So they rely on that guidance and advice from the development team. That's why they need to work so closely together and collaborate and communicate with each other very, very frequently. Okay, so overall, being a product owner means you are only focused on why we're building this, who we're building it for, and what we're building, and when it needs to be built. All of these decisions are being made in the context of generating the highest return on investment from that product. The characteristics that are needed is to be visionary, a leader, a good communicator, a good negotiator, be committed and be available. And last two is being empowered and qualified for that role. So your organization has to empower you, and then you or whoever is a product owner has to be qualified to that role. That means they need to have domain knowledge about the business aspect of the product, not the domain knowledge in terms of the technical aspects of building the product. And once you do that, then you now have to focus on being prepared that as you finish every sprint and you present that outcome of that sprint to your users and customers and they give you feedback, it could take you in a different direction. And that's where the change and the uncertainty comes in. So being comfortable with uncertainty and change allows you then to become more effective in focusing on maximizing value delivery. And that is a secret to becoming a good and effective product owner, is maximizing value, delivery of value, and the high frequency of delivery of that value. Those are the two key characteristics that determine a highly successful product owner. So I'm going to pause here, and I know we're coming up to our 1 hour. So I'll see if there are any other last questions, and we'll then close. There is a role for BAs. There are organizations where the product owner, the role of a product owner is such that it is not done by, it cannot be, there is a lot of responsibility on the product owner. So they need help and support. So it is fairly common to have organizations in which subject matter experts, business analysts, somebody from marketing, they are providing support and help to the product owner. So the product owner may need to do some research. So a business analyst or the subject matter expert could do that. A product owner may need help with creating, wireframes, or may need to do some research on UX, UI. So they may work with an UX expert to identify the user experience. So these are all things that a product owner needs help with. So business analysts can provide that support, and other individuals can provide that support depending on the product you're building and the domain you're working in. Other questions?
Yes, we don't have any more. Yeah, I guess we need to have just one.
Any tools for a product owner? What do you mean by that? Mansa, can you elaborate a little bit? I can recommend books and blogs that you should read and follow on a regular basis, but there are no tools. You don't need any tools. You need to learn techniques around how do you validate that this is exactly what a user wants. How do you prioritize? There are different techniques you can use, but there are no tools per se. Okay. And I'm happy to share the PDF of this PowerPoint, and also I will include a couple of slides at the bottom, which I didn't have earlier, which was about books. Exactly. The slides actually have websites and books that I recommend, which you will see. I will add it to the end of my slide deck. It's not here right now. Is that okay, Mansa? Okay, excellent. Thank you, guys. I know this was done over webinar, but I appreciate the questions you asked. They were all on the mark, and feel free to reach out and connect. Happy to provide any other guidance you may have. I may be a little bit slow in responding if I'm traveling, so just be patient. Thank you, Anna, for this opportunity. Thank you all. Have a good evening and forward to interacting with you again in the near future.
Okay, guys. Manjit, thank you so much for your presentation. It was really, really great. And especially, I think, very beneficial was to hear about this personal agility canvas, something I guess everybody can use. So it's great that you're going to share with us the presentation, the book's recommendation, as well as this canvas. So, and we will share the canvas and presentation and all the additional materials that Manjit promised us. We will share that in the meetup, in the comments under this meetup webinar. So you will get all of this. Thank you so much again. And guys, if you do want to connect, Manjit is just holding this slide right now with his information, so you can go and see his website. Also check his book out, as well as you can connect with him by the email. Thank you so much. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask Manjit directly, or you can ask your questions in the comments below the meetup webinar. Thank you, Manjit. Thank you so much. Yes, so I will just distribute to everybody who is interested. All right, guys, I guess that's pretty much it for this webinar, and stay tuned. We're going to have other webinars like that coming in from different speakers, from different experts, and we're usually going to do it once a month. So just follow the meetup, and let me know if you have any specific topics that you have in mind. If you want to hear somebody specific, we will try to invite this person to talk for you. All right, thank you so much. If you don't have any more questions to us or to Manjit, then we'll just adjourn. Thank you.